Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to start another series which is Learn Tkinter or Tkinter. For those of you guys who don't know what is Tkinter, it is basically a module that is used for creating GUIs or graphical user interface. You don't have to download it from any website or pip, you just have to write from Tkinter import star. That will import everything that is included in Tkinter module or Tkinter folder. Now I will write root equals capital T and K and empty parenthesis. After leaving some lines, I will write root dot main loop empty parenthesis again. Run the code. An empty window has appeared. Its minimize button is working perfectly, maximize button is also working great, and close button is working fine. Now anything that I will write in these two lines will be included in the empty window. So let me create a variable L equals to label and label with capital L, empty parenthesis, and if I want to change the text, I will write in the parenthesis text equals to quotation marks and hello world. Now I have to pack it. L.pack and empty parenthesis. So label is created. Now I will pack it in the window. Now you can see hello world is appeared here, but it is too small. Let me change the font. So I will write font equals in the parenthesis Calibri, 30. Now you can see the text has appeared with a greater font. This is the code from previous tutorial in which I have told you about labels. In this tutorial, I will tell you about entries. So before creating an entry, let's create a variable for entry. I will name it E and E equals to entry with capital E, and in the parentheses I will define the entry like width equals 20 and font will be, let's say, Calibri, and the size can be 18. We can also change the foreground and background color of the entry. Like if I want to change the foreground color, I will write FG equals in the quotation marks the color that I want. It can be a hex code or the name of the color. Like I want the foreground color to be light gray. Now that our entry is created, let's pack it in the window. So to pack it, I will write e.pack with empty parenthesis. Now let's run the code. And you can see here after hello world label, an entry is printed out. By following the same pattern, we can also make login screen. But you can see that the text appeared light gray. Let's change FG to BG. Now you can see that the background color is gray and whatever I will write in the entry will be of black color. So that's it for today guys. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you again in the next video. In this video, I am going to show you that how you can create a calculator using Tkinter module. So to import Tkinter, I have to write from Tkinter import star. That will import everything from Tkinter module. And now for creating an empty window, I will write root equals to tk with empty parenthesis and root.main loop with empty parenthesis. Now if I run the code, you can see here that the name of the window is tk, but I want to change it from tk to calculator. So let's head back to Python. We have to add another line, root.title. In the empty parentheses within the quotation marks, I have to write calculator. Now if I rerun the code, you can see here that the name of the window is changed from tk to calculator. Now let's add entries and buttons in this window. So now for creating entry, I will make a variable e equals to entry with capital E, and now in the empty parentheses its properties like width, font, color, etc, etc. So width equals to 20 and font equals to, in the empty parentheses in the quotation marks, Calibri or Calibri Light, and then its size I will write here 25. Now after creating an entry, let's pack it in the window by writing e.grid row and column. I will write row equals to 0 and column equals to 0. Now let's run the code. And you can see here our entry is packed in this calculator window, and I can write anything in this entry. Let's write my channel. Do subscribe my channel, and I can also change its font. So let's head back to Python and change its font from Calibri to Calibri Light. There are many more fonts in the Tkinter library, so you can search it on Google. Now you can see here the font is changed. Let's write hello. So yeah, our entry is created now. Now let's add buttons. Let's head back to Python. And I will name first button b_1, and b_1 equals button with capital B, and in the empty parentheses its properties like pad x equals to 25, pad y equals 10. Now text equals 1, as it is the number 1, so I will write text equals 1. Background equals, in the quotation marks, gray or any color you want. Dot grid row equals to 1 and column equals to 0. That is for me, you can add anything you want. So if I run the code now, you can see here a button appears with text 1, but it is too small, so let's add font to it. We can increase the size in font. Now let's head back to Python and let's remove that grid section, and I will copy the same line to create other buttons. But before that, I will write font equals in the empty parentheses the same as we have written in the entry, so I will copy as it is. Now let's pack this button in the windows to see if anything has changed or not. Now if I run the code, you can see here that the font of the button has increased. So now let's add more buttons like button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and plus and equals to button. So I will copy this line and I will paste 10 times to create 10 buttons. Now that our buttons are created, let's pack them in the calculator window. So I will write b underscore 1 dot grid row equals to, let's say, 1 and column equals to 0. Now, now I will copy this line and I will paste it 10 times as it is, and I will make some changes in it to make a calculator window. So let's first change the numbers of button. And now I have to change some settings in rows and columns. So button 4, 5, 6 will be in row 2, and by following the same pattern the next 3 buttons will be in row 3. 0 button will be in 4th row. Now all buttons have been added in the window, so let's run the code, and you can see here it is looking a bit awkward. So to change that, we have to go to entry section, and in the grid section I will add another thing which will be column span equals to 3, as we have 3 buttons in a row. So I will write column span equals to 3. Now you can see that the buttons in this window are arranged perfectly, but there is some gap between them. So I will decrease the width of entry from 20 to 15. Run the code again and you can see that everything is perfect. So now let's add two buttons which are equal button and plus button. By following the exact same pattern in the above buttons, I will copy that and I will paste it as it is. But I will change the text. which will be in the quotation marks, the plus sign. Now let's copy the exact same line and paste it below 2 times, as we have 2 more buttons. I will change the name of button 0 to button add that I have written here. And to create equal button, I will copy it again and paste it again. But I will change the name of the button from button add to button EQ. And I will change the sign also from plus to equals. Now you can follow the exact same pattern in packing the buttons I have followed above. Let's run the code now. And you can see everything is just perfect. This is the basics of creating a calculator and buttons. In the next part of the video, I will tell you that how you can add commands in the buttons to write and solve the equations. This is the second part of making a calculator using Tkinter. In the previous part, I have told you that how you can design a calculator, but in this video, I will tell you that how you can make a calculator work perfectly. So this is the code from previous tutorial. If I run this code, you can see the buttons are packed perfectly and the entry is also packed perfectly, but none of them is working. So to make them work perfectly, we will make some functions, like a function that will print the number in the entry. So I will write def write in the empty parenthesis a semicolon, and after the indentation we have to write the code. Let's add a parameter which is num, and in this function I will write e.insert 0, end. I have to replace the 0 with num, so I will write here num. And now that the function is created, let's add this function to our buttons by simply writing command equals lambda a colon and name of the function with empty parenthesis, and in the empty parenthesis the value of the parameter. In case of button 1, the value of the parameter is 1, so I will write here 1. Now I will copy this line and I will paste it as it is in the remaining buttons. Now I will change the values of the parameter according to the number of the button. Now let's run the code, and here you guys can see if I press any button, end is printed out. So I have to change this statement. I have to write end comma num instead of num comma end. So let's rerun the code, and now you guys can see here that if I write any number, the same number is printed out in the entry. Now that our first function is created successfully, now let's create another function which is add. What it will do is it will simply add 2 numbers. So in this function I will write first underscore number. Basically it is a variable which is equal to e.get. It is whatever we will write in the entry. So first number is equal to e.get. Now after getting the first number, I have to delete it so that we can add another number, which is second number. So e.delete in the empty parenthesis 0 comma end. It will delete the entry, or we can say it will clear the entry. So I will write here global operation equals addition, but in the double quotation marks, or you can write it in the single quotation marks. Our second button is also created, so let's add it in a button by simply writing command equals add. No empty parentheses, no something else, simply its name. So command dot add, and now I have to change this thing into integer. Now that our second function is created, let's move ahead to function number 3, which is equal. So def equals empty parenthesis, a colon, and here I will write the code, which will be if operation equals to addition, if operation equals to addition, then what we have to do is we have to simply take two numbers and add them by simply writing e.delete 0 comma end. So it will clear the entry and then it will print out the sum. So I will make another variable for second number. It can be simply s underscore number or second number. So I will choose s underscore number. So s underscore number equals integer of e.get. I have to write this line above. So e.delete 0 comma end will be down and s underscore num equals integer equals e.get will be up. So e.insert in the empty parenthesis 0 comma. Firstly we have to make a global of f underscore num in the above function, and here I can write 0 comma f underscore num plus s underscore num, so that will be the sum. And when I will rerun the code, you can see here 2 plus 2 equals equal button is not working as we have not added it in the button. So here I have to write command in the equal button, command equals equal. We have to remove the empty parentheses, remember that. So here I will write 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 8 equals 10, 10 plus 9 equals 19, 19 plus 1 equals 20, and so on. So that is the main code. You can add as many operations as you want, like square root, square, cube root, cube, etc, etc. So if you have any doubts or queries, you can ask them in the comment section. In this video I am going to show you that how you can change the icon of Tkinter window and working with images and exit button that you can add in your window. So firstly I will write from Tkinter import star. That will import everything from Tkinter. And now I will make a window which will be named root. So root equals tk with empty parentheses and root.main loop. Now that our window is created, let's move ahead and change the icon. So as you guys can see that I have an image file that I have converted into GIF. So firstly I will convert it into PNG. Now let's head back to code and I will write root.icon bitmap and in the empty parentheses in double quotation marks the name of the file. So in my case I have named the file icon.png. So if I run the code, you guys can see here an image appears. I don't know why it is not showing, but it should be working in Windows. So our icon is changed. Now let's head back to quit button. So quit button will be named quit underscore b. So quit underscore b equals button. In the empty parentheses, pad x equals 25, pad y equals 25, and font equals in the empty parentheses in double quotation marks Calibri, and the font can be 50, and command equals root.quit. Now that our button is created, now let's pack it in our window. So quit underscore b dot pack with empty parentheses. Let's run it again. Here you guys can see a button appears, but it doesn't have any text. So let's add a text. Text equals in the double quotation marks exit. Now let's rerun the code, and here you guys can see a big button has appeared. If I press exit, the window is closed. So our quit button is also made perfectly. Now let's work with images. So firstly I will install a package which is pillow. So I will write in the terminal pip install pillow. You guys can see it is installed successfully. Here I will write from pil from pil import image tk and image. Now let's make a variable for image img equals this image. Img equals image tk dot photo image and in the empty parentheses image dot open and the name of the image. So image is created now. Now I will make a label. So lab equals label and in the empty parenthesis image equals img, the name of the variable which we have created previously. So label.pack, and if I rerun the code, you guys can see here a massive picture has appeared. So to get rid of that, I will select another image. Let's head back to PyCharm and I will change the name of the image. So let's change the image to icon.png, that is too small. Run the code again and you guys can see here it says thumbs up, so thumbs up the video. And you guys can see here exit button is created successfully, an image has appeared, and we have also worked in changing the icon. In this video, I am going to show you that how you can make an image viewer app using Tkinter. So firstly, you have to import Tkinter by simply writing from Tkinter import star, which will import everything from Tkinter. Now you have to install another package which is named pillow. So open the terminal and you have to type pip install pillow. Here you guys can see, and when I hit enter, it says requirement already satisfied because I have already installed this package. So after installing the package, you have to write from pill uppercase P I and L import image and image tk. Now after importing the image and image tk, you have to make an empty window. So for that I will type root equals tk and root.main loop. It will simply create an empty window. I have told you that in my previous videos, you can watch them too. So when I run the code, you can see here that the name of the window is tk. We can also change that. I have shown that too in the previous videos. And simply write root.title in the empty parentheses within the quotation marks image viewer. So this is the name of our window. If I run the code again, you guys can see here that the name of the window is changed. Now after setting up your window, now let's move ahead to images. So firstly I will create a variable for my first image by writing image1 equals image tk dot photo image, and in the empty parentheses image dot open, and in the empty parentheses the name of the image. I have copied my images in this projects directory. So let's write the name of the image in double quotation marks, and same we will do for the next images. So simply copy and paste as it is. You just have to change the name of the variable and the name of the image in each line. So after that I have to create a label. So I will name this label lab. So lab equals label, and in the empty parentheses image equals image1. After that I will pack this label. So simply write lab.pack with empty parentheses. Now after running the code, you guys can see here a beautiful image appears. This is the image that we have named the image 1. So let's head back to the code. Now let's make a list of the images that we have created above. So now that our list is created, let's make buttons. For example, exit button, previous button and next button. So first button is exit button. I will name it as exit underscore button equals button, and in the empty parentheses its properties like pad x equals 20 and pad y equals, let's say, 5, and text equals Calibri in the empty parentheses in double quotation marks Calibri, 18. Now our exit button is created. Let's copy this line and paste it as it is below. So as I need 3 buttons, so I will copy it 3 times. I will change the name of the buttons and some of their properties. Let's change lab.pack to lab.grid, in which row equals to 0, column equals to 0 and column span equals to 3. So after creating the buttons, let's pack them into our window. So for that I will write exit underscore button dot grid in the empty parentheses row equals to, let's say, 1 and column equals to 1. Same we will do in the next line, so copy that and paste it as it is. Rows will remain as it is and change the name of buttons and the column numbers. Now let's run the code, and you guys can see here that the buttons are having text Calibri 18. So here I have to change text to font, and I have to add another property which is text. So in previous button, text equals the backward arrow in the quotation marks, and in the next button the text will be double forward arrows in the double quotation marks. The text of the exit button will be text equals in the double quotation marks exit. Now if I run the code, you guys can see that our image viewer app is built perfectly, but none of the button is working perfectly. So in the next tutorial I will show you guys how to add functions in these buttons. So that's it for today guys. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you again in the next video. This is the second part of how to make an image viewer app using Tkinter. So in this video I am going to show you how to add functions in buttons to change the image. You guys can see this is the first image, the second image, the third one and the last image. So first of all what you have to do is to define a function. In my case I will name the function forward, and I will name the parameter image number. Now put a colon and start your code. So firstly I will write global lab and global backward button and global forward button. Now what you have to do is you have to write lab.grid underscore forget with empty parentheses. It will forget the grid and it will not overlap your image. Now you have to write lab equals label, and in the empty parentheses image equals to image list, and in the square brackets image number minus 1. Now let's pack this label in our window by simply writing lab.grid, and in the empty parentheses row equals to 0, column equals to 0, and column span equals to 3. Now let's copy the back button and I will paste it right here. Now I will copy the forward button and I will paste it just below it. Now in the back button I have to write command equals to forward, and I have to put lambda colon forward, and in the brackets I have to write image number plus 1. So now I will copy this command and I will paste it just below in the forward button, and I will change the plus sign to minus. Now copy the grid line of the forward button and paste it right here. And now copy the grid line of the back button and I will paste it here. Now if I run the code, it will give me an error as I haven't added the command in our buttons. So let's get back to code, and in the forward button I will write command equals lambda colon forward, and in the empty parentheses 1. So if I run the code now, you guys can see that image viewer app is working perfectly. The forward buttons are working perfectly and backward buttons are working perfectly. And you guys can see exit button is also working perfectly. This is the 6th tutorial of Tkinter module, and in this video I am going to show you that how you can use radio buttons in your window. So let's get started. Firstly, you have to import Tkinter. So you will write from Tkinter import star and root equals to tk with empty parentheses. You have to write root dot main loop. And now you have to write radio buttons with capital R, and in the empty parentheses you have to define its properties like text is equals to num01 and its variable is rb, and now I will set its value to, let's say, 1. And now let's pack this radio button in our window. But before packing that, you have to make a variable that you have named in the radio button property. So rb is equals to int var with empty parentheses. Now I will make another radio button, so I will copy the exact line and paste it below. But in this line I will change its value and its text. Let's change the font to 30 so that it will be prominent. Font equals Calibri, comma, let's say 20. I will write the same here. Now if I run the code, you guys can see here two radio buttons have appeared in my window. If I click num01, num01 is selected, and if I click the other one, the next one is selected. But these are not functioning properly. So let's add function in these radio buttons. If I type rb.set and in the empty parentheses I have to write a value 1 or 2. So if I write 1, you guys can see that previously or priorly number 1 is selected. Why is that so? As I have set the value of number 1 button 1. So down here I will make a label. So I will write my label equals label, and in the empty parentheses I will write text equals to rb dot get. So whatever the value of rb will be, that will be the text of our label. And font equals, let's say, Calibri, and size would be, let's say, 30. Now let's pack this label in our window and let's see what happens. So if I run the code, you guys can see here the value of label is 0 as none of the radio button is selected. But if I write rb.set and in the empty parentheses I write 1 and now run the code, it should say 1, and you guys can see it is saying 1. That means our program is working perfectly. So to make it more complex, let's move ahead. What I will do now is I will create a function. So you have to type def click, and in the empty parentheses you have to name the parameter value. Down here you have to write my label, or you have to copy this line and paste it as it is here, and you have to change the text of my label. So from rb.get you have to write value. Let's pack this label in the next line and remove the slash. Now you have to create a button. I will name it capital B. So capital B equals button, and in the empty parentheses text equals click, and font equals Calibri, and its size would be 30. Now you have to add the command in our button. So command equals lambda colon click, and in the empty parentheses rb dot get. Now let's back it in our window. Let's change the text from rb.get to value, and let's run the code now. So you guys can see here that num01 is selected and the value of label is changing as I change the radio button. So you guys can make it more complex as you want, like using if statements and whatever you want. In this video, I am going to tell you about message boxes. So message boxes provide us information or take decisions from us. So to make a message box, we have to firstly import Tkinter. So I will write from Tkinter import star, and from Tkinter import message box. And after that, I will create a simple window by writing root equals capital T K and empty parentheses, and leaving some lines. I will write root dot main loop empty parentheses. Now in this window we can create our message boxes, and there are many types of message boxes like ask, okay, cancel. What it will do is it will simply ask okay or cancel. So I will write here message box dot ask okay cancel empty parentheses, and when I run the code you can see here alert, and there are two options which are okay and cancel. But if I press any button it will not give any response. So for that I will make a variable and I will name it response. So response equals message box dot ask okay cancel. Whatever will be the response from this message box will be equal to our variable. Now if I write here print and in the empty parentheses response, whenever I choose any response from the message box will be printed out in our console. Let's try. Run the code and you can see a message box has appeared. Now I will select cancel, and in the console you can see here it is written false. So that means our program is working fine. We can also create a label for our response. Remember, I have told you this in my previous videos. So I will write label and in the empty parentheses text equals response. Let's make the font larger. Font equals Calibri, comma, let's say 40. And now it's time to pack our label in the window. Now let's run the code. You can see message box appears. Let's select a response, and here you can see that the value of the response is 1. But if I run it again and select cancel, You can see here that the response value is 0. Now let's select another type of message box. Let it be ask question. Now you can see that the options are changed, which are yes or no. If I select no, the no is printed in the label, and if I select yes, yes is printed in label. There are many other types of message boxes that you can try. In this video, I am going to show you that how you can create another window in Tkinter. So let's get started. First of all, you have to import Tkinter. So I will write from Tkinter import star, and now root equals tk. Now after leaving some lines, I will write root dot main loop. Now you guys can see that our first window is created. Now we have to create another one. If I run the code, you can see there is one window. To create second window, I will write second root equals top level, and in the empty parenthesis root. Now I want to create a button, so I will write b equals button, and in the empty parenthesis I will write text equals in the double quotation marks click me, and font equals Calibri, and the size would be 45. Now I can select that in which window should this button appear. If I write here root comma and then run the code, the button will appear in the first window, and you can see the second window is also created. But I want to click a button and the button will appear the second window. So I will write here a function. I will define a function def second window empty parenthesis colon and second root equals to top level root, and in the button I will add comma command equals second window. Now let's change the position of the function that we have created recently. Let's run the code, and here you guys can see if I click the button the second window appears. Let's remove this line and run the code again. Now you guys can see here click me button is showing up, and when I click me, the second window appears. We can also customize our second window like second underscore root dot title, in the empty parenthesis in double quotation marks your name of the window. For example, I will write this is the second window. Now when I hit click me, you can see this is the second window. The name of the window is changed. We can simply change this to the name of the second window. In this video, I am going to tell you about file dialogs. So first of all, I have to import Tkinter. So I will write from Tkinter import star, and now I have to import file dialog from Tkinter. So I will write from Tkinter import file dialog, and root equals tk, and after leaving some lines, root dot main loop. So now to create a file dialog, I will write fd. Fd is the variable name. So fd equals file dialog dot, and here you guys can see there are many types of file dialog. For example, ask directory, ask file name, etc, etc. But I will choose ask open file. Now in the empty parentheses, I will write title equals, in the double quotation marks, choose a file, and now we can define file types. So there are two file types for in my case. So I will write png files in the double quotation marks, and after that again double quotation marks, and I will write png files. Let's capitalize it. Now you guys can see here that in one parenthesis I have defined one type of file. So put a comma and empty parenthesis, and in the next empty parenthesis I will define jpg files. So in the double quotation marks I will write .jpg, and after a comma I will write in the double quotation marks jpeg files, and when I hit run, now you guys can see here the title is choose a file. So when I hit run, you guys can see here that the title of the window is choose a file. Let me zoom for you guys. Here you guys can see choose a file, and here you guys can see the type of files .png and .jpg files. So now our file dialog box is created. So now let's add more functions to this file dialog. Like I want to know the directory in which my png or jpg file is stored. So I will make a new label, and in the empty parentheses I will write text equals fd, and font equals, in the double quotation marks, calibri, and size can be 40. And now let's pack this label in our window. And now I want my image to appear in my window. So for that you have to import pillow, but first of all you have to install pillow. So open your terminal and write pip install pillow. It will not work for me as I am using Mac, or there is some fault with my PC, so it may work for you. Go ahead and press enter. It will take about 10 to 15 seconds. Now the installation has been completed. Let's write here from pill import image tk and image. Now here you have to make another variable which will be img equals image tk in the empty parentheses image, and here you have to write dot photo image, and here you have to write dot open, and in the empty parentheses you have to write fd. Now you have to add this image in a label, so create another label, and in the empty parentheses you have to write image equals img, and after that pack this label in your window. Run the code and select any image or file. You can see here this disappears for me, but it should be working for you guys. In this video I am going to show you what are sliders. So this video is a very interesting video. Keep watching till the end. So firstly you have to create an empty window. So you have to write from Tkinter import star and root equals tk, and after leaving some lines root dot main loop. Now I will make a variable for scale, so I will name it sc equals scale, and in the empty parentheses you have to set a range. So in here you have to write from underscore equals any number you want, in my case it is 0, and from 0 to 2 equals, let's say, 500. Now the scale is created, let's pack it in our window. Now let's run the code, and here you guys can see a scale has appeared. Let me zoom in for you guys, and here you guys can see this is slider. Like we do while listening to music or anything, we set sound, so same we can do with this. Now this is a simple widget that we have added in our window, but this is too simple, so let's add fun. So I will write here orient equals horizontal, and now when I run the code you can see that the position of the slider has changed from vertical to horizontal. Now I will make a label, and that label will have the text which is given from the slider. So L equals label, in the empty parentheses text equals sc.get, and let's set the font size. So font equals Calibri and size can be 45. Now that our label is created, let's pack it in our window and run the code. Now here you guys can see that the value is 0, but whenever I change it from the slider, nothing happens. So for that I have to create a function. But before that, let's change the font size of scale. Run the code now, and yes, you guys can see The font size of the scale can also be changed. But let's see whether we can change its width. So let me write width equals 20. Rerun the code. You can see nothing happens. Let's try one more time by increasing the value of the width. So let's head back to Python and I will write here 200 and I will rerun the code. And yes, you guys can see the width has changed. Now let's change the length. So here I will write length equals 200 and rerun the code. And now you guys can see that the length of the slider has been changed. So that means it works perfectly. Now I will make a button, and whenever we will click that button, a value will be appeared that will be the text from the slider. So I will write here b equals button, and in the empty parentheses text equals click me, and the font will be the same as we have set for the label and the scale, and the command will be slide. So let's create a function here. So I will write here def slide empty parentheses a colon, and here I will write the exact same line of the label that we have written above. Let's run the code. Oops, we have to pack the button. So dot pack. Let's run the code now. And you can see click me button has appeared. Let's change the value and you can see 164 has appeared. The reading of the slider becomes the reading of the label. But the problem here is whenever I click the button, a new label is created. So for that, let's change our function. So I will write here. Now you have to change the code by writing l.gridForget and l.pack. And now you have to change all the pack functions into grid function. And that I have told you in my previous videos. Now you have to change the position of grid statement of your label in the function below the l.grid forget. Let's run the code now. Here you guys can see that whenever I will change the value of the slider, the value of the label changes. So that means our code is working perfectly. But there is an extra label in our window, so let's remove it and run the code again, and you can see here it is just perfect. In the previous video, someone asked me to upload a video on scroll bar in Tkinter. But for that you have to have some basic concepts. In this video I am going to show you how to create a list box in our Tkinter window, and in the next video I will tell you that how you can add a scroll bar in your list box. So stay tuned. So let's get started with list boxes, and for that let's create an empty window, and for that we have to write from Tkinter import star root equals tk, and after leaving some lines, root dot main loop. Now it is very simple to create a list box, so I will write lb as a variable name, lb equals list box, and I will write nothing in the parentheses, and here I will write lb dot pack, and in the empty parentheses padx equals 20. Let's run the code. Here you guys can see a box has appeared, but it is just an empty box. Now you may have noticed that I have written the padx property here, but if I write the padx property in the list box empty parentheses, you can see it will give us an error. So it is not the same as it was in other widgets, so we have to write this line below. Now let's add the name of the window to just clear the concepts. Let's add a title to our window, which is root.title, and in the empty parentheses in double quotation marks, list box. Now you have seen that our list box was empty. So now to add an item in our list box, I will write here lb.insert, position will be end, and in the double quotation marks, the name of the item, which will be first item in my case. Now the first item is successfully inserted in our list box. So let's add the second item by following the same pattern. Now second item is also inserted successfully. Let's run the code now. Now here you guys can see that the title of the window is list box, and a list box has two items in it. We can add as many items as we want, and we can change the position of these items. For example, if I write here 1 and rerun the code, you will see here nothing happens. Why is that so? Because the second item will be at the end. So for that I have to add here 0. Let's run the code again, and you guys can see here second item is at the first place and the first item is at the second place. So let's remove this for now, and I will show you a different way to add the items in our list box. So here you have to write for item in range, any range do you want, that can be 100, 2000, 10, 5, etc. So for item in range 100, lb dot insert in the empty parentheses and in the double quotation marks first item. Let's run the code now. Now you guys can see there are many items, but each item have a same name. So I can change this, and I have to write here string and in the empty parentheses item. Let's run the code now, and here you guys can see that there are many items and each item has a different number. I can scroll this using my arrow keys, but it does not have a scroll bar, and we will add this in the next video. Now you guys can see that the items have been added in our list box. So now what? Now I will create a button that will delete the selected item from our list box. So for that, I will make a variable and I will name it del b. So del b equals button, and in the empty parentheses pad x equals, let's say, 20, and pad y equals 30. Let's set the text to delete, and command will be delete. Now here we have to create a function, and for that I will write here def delete empty parenthesis colon, and here lb dot delete, and in the empty parenthesis I will write anchor. So the selected item will be deleted. Now let's run the code. I have done a silly mistake here. Have you guys noticed? I haven't packed my button in my window, which is a pretty silly mistake. So learn from my mistakes. Let's pack it in our window and rerun the code. Now you will notice that after selecting an item from list box, whenever I press delete button, the item gets deleted from the window. So let's resize the button. Now I will increase the font size of the button. Let's run the code now. Now here you will notice that the font size of the button is large, but that of the items in the list box is very small. So let's head back to PyCharm and increase the font size of the items in the list box. So here I will add the font size statement we used to write for every widget. I will set, let's say, 20, run the code, and you can see the font size has increased and the button is working perfectly. So now the delete button is added perfectly and is working perfectly. Let's add another button, which will be info button. Whenever we will press that button, we will get the information of the item which we have selected. So for that, I will make another function and I will copy and paste exact same statement for the del B button, and I will only change the name of the button and I will change it to info, and here I will write details. Let's change the command name and let's change the function name. Now here what I will do is I will make a label which will have the text same as the text of the item in the list box. So label in the empty parentheses text equals lb.get anchor, font, I have done the same mistake I have done earlier so that you will remember it every time. I haven't packed the label again. Remember it, guys, you have to always pack the widget in your window. Now you guys can see our function is created and is working perfectly, but a new label is created whenever I press the button. So for that, I will write here, I will change the name my label and my label.config. Let's copy that and paste it here. So my label equals to label and as it is. Let's change this text to nothing. Now you have understand that I have configured the text of the label into the text of the item. Now this is very common and annoying mistake that we usually do in our code and we cannot figure out what is causing all this problem. So for that, you can see here in line number 15, I have packed my label in a same line. You can see here in the same line I have packed my label. You do not have to do that. After creating a label, you have to pack it on a separate line by writing my label dot pack. You can see here and follow my steps. Now let's run the code, and here you guys can see whenever I select an item and press detail button, the name of the item appears. But when I delete it, the name remains in my window. So I have to remove that. And for that, I have to make some changes in my delete function. So what will I do is I will simply copy the detail function and I will paste the line as it is. Let's change the text to nothing. Now run the code, and you guys can see here whenever I find the information of an item and then I will delete it, the information will delete with it. Do share your ideas and your projects that you have created in Tkinter in the comment section, and if you have any questions you can ask them in the comment section. In this video I am going to show you that how you can add a scroll bar in your list box. So for that, let's make an empty window. For that I will write here from Tkinter import star root equals tk, and after leaving some lines root dot main loop. Now let's create a list box by simply making a variable. So lb equals list box, and in here I will write root and lb dot pack. Now let's add some items in our list box. For I in range, let's say 25. lb dot insert and comma I. Now let's run the code to verify the program. Here you guys can see we have 25 items in our list box. Now our list box is created. Let's make a scroll bar. So for that I will make a variable sb equals scroll bar with capital S, and in here I will write root sb.pack and lb.config y scroll command equals sb, and in the empty parentheses of sb.pack you have to write side, any side you want. I want the right side, so I will write here side equals right and fill equals y. Now let me run the code. Here you guys can see that list box is separate and the scroll bar is separate, so we have to do some work on it, and you can see it is not working also. Let's head back to PyCharm, and here you have to write sb.set and sb.config command equals lb.yview. Now you have to remove these empty brackets next to the sb.set. Now you guys can see that scroll bar is working perfectly, but it is not connected with the list box. So for that we have to arrange the list box and the scroll bar. We have to define the scroll bar first, then the list box. So let's adjust them. So let's arrange them. Now after arranging these scroll bar and list box, you guys can see this is our code. So let's run the code, and you guys can see here that the scroll bar is working perfectly with the list box. In this video I am going to show you that how you can use checkboxes in your window. For that you have to create an empty window by simply writing from Tkinter import star root equals tk, and after leaving some lines root dot main loop. Now here you have to create a variable. I will name it v, so v equals int var, and another variable for the checkbox c equals check button, and in the empty parentheses text equals checkbox, and variable equals v, the name of the variable we have created above. So let's pack this checkbox in our window and run the code. You can see here it is too small, so let's increase the font size by simply writing font equals Calibri, and the size can be, let's say the size is 40. Let's rerun the code now, and here you guys can see the checkbox has appeared. We can check the checkbox or we can uncheck the checkbox. The checkbox has been created. Now what? Now I will make a button that will show us the value that we have got from the checkbox. So let's create a button. B equals button and text equals to, let's copy this line till the checkbox and paste it here. I will change the text from checkbox to click, and command will also be click. Now we have to define the function with the name click. So here let's write def click empty parenthesis colon, and L equals label, text equals v dot get, and I will copy the font from check button, and I will change the font size to 25 and the button's font size will be 30. Let's pack the button and the label. Run the code and you guys can see here a checkbox has appeared with a click button. So when I will check the checkbox and click the button, I will get answer as 1, but it will change as I uncheck my checkbox. So here you guys can also set v equals string var and you guys can change the result as you want. So in here I will write on value, that means if the checkbox is checked then this value will appear. Run the code and here check the checkbox and click the button and you guys can see here it is on. Now let's set the off value. So off value will be off. Run the code again and you guys can see as I check my checkbox the value is on, and as I uncheck the checkbox the value is off. In this video I am going to show you that how you can use drop down menu in your Tkinter window. So for that let's create an empty window by simply writing from Tkinter import star root equals tk and root dot main loop. Now let's make a variable for our drop down menu. I will name it D. So D equals option menu, and in the empty parentheses the name of the window in which you are packing it. In my case it is root, and after that you have to write clicked. It is the name of the variable that we have to create. I will show it to you later. Now in the double quotation marks, the options that you want in your drop down menu. In my case, let's say it is Sunday, after that Monday, Tuesday, remember these should be in double quotation marks or single quotation marks. Now you have to deal with clicked. So let's make a variable for clicked. Clicked equals string var and empty parentheses. Now let's pack the drop down menu in our empty window. I will write d.pack with empty parentheses and run the code. Here you guys can see it is a very small drop down menu. Now let's see if we can increase its size. I will write here width equals, let's say 20. We cannot write it here. Let's write here d.configure and in the empty parentheses we have to write width equals 20. Now let's run the code again, and you guys can see here width has increased. And if I press the drop down menu, here you guys can see, if I press this, you can see I have three options: Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. If I select one, the text will appear before the drop down menu. If I change this, the text will be changed. So now what? Our drop down menu is created. Now what? Now let's make a button that will show us the text or the value that we have got from our drop down menu. Now let's create a button, and I will name the variable b. So b equals button, and in the empty parenthesis text equals click. And let's set the text size to 25. Now let's set a command. So command equals click. Now let's define a function named click. And in here I will write L equals label. And let's copy paste this line, and let's change the text. So in here the text will be clicked.get. Let's run the code. Oops, I haven't packed the button. So let's head back to the code and pack our label and the button too. Let's run the code now. And here you guys can see button has appeared and the drop down menu has also appeared. So I have selected Sunday from my drop down menu, and when I hit click button, and the label has also appeared with the text Sunday, and whenever I change the drop down menu option, the text changes with it. Now let's head back to the code, and in here you guys can see when I write clicked dot set, like I am setting the value of clicked to something else. Let's say I have set the value of click to none, and I will run the code again, and you guys can see here that the value none is already selected. And when I will select the other options and then click the button, the text changes. So that's it for today guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video.